Welcome back to the conversation. Again, I'm Benjamin Dixon, host of the Benjamin Dixon Show. You can find me right here on YouTube or wherever you stream. I am excited to be joined now by Mark Titus. Mark is an award-winning director, writer, and filmmaker, and he is the founder of August Island Pictures in Seattle. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ben. It's good to be on.
The pleasure is mine. There's a lot going on around the world, pandemic, just a lot of stress, a lot of people who are encumbered by life, and yet you have been able to find inspiration for your work, for your activism, and for your artwork, for your films. Tell us about your projects that you have going on right now.
Sure. So the current film is called The Wild, and it is about a very special place called Bristol Bay, Alaska, which is home to the last fully intact wild salmon system on Earth. And if you're a creature of the coasts, east or west, you'll know that our wild salmon runs have all but disappeared in the last 200 years. Salmon are a socio-cultural, spiritual icon to the indigenous folks in these places that were touched by salmon. And now we've seen them all but gone. Bristol Bay has a complete ecosystem still fully intact. Just last year, they saw 50 million fish return to their waters, unmitigated by human touch at all. At the same time, there is a Canadian mining company that wants to put what would be North America's largest open pit copper mine in the headwaters of where these salmon go to spawn. There's been a 15-year battle mostly by the locals and the indigenous folks in Bristol Bay to keep this mine out of their system. And that's what The Wild is all about. And it's told through the lens of a film that deals with my own issues with recovery from addiction.
Wow. Now we have a short clip. We have the trailer for the documentary, for the film rather. Let's take a look at that and then let's discuss it a little bit in further detail.
This is the last great sockeye salmon fishery on the face of the planet, providing over half the world's sockeye salmon. It's the most sacred thing we have here. Do we love salmon? I don't even know if love's a strong enough word. That's how blessed we are here, and that's what we're fighting so hard to protect.
We think we've designed this tailings facility so that there will be no incidents, and I don't think that it presents a significant enough risk to stop this project. No one cares about the waves at the bottom of the ocean.
I still believe it's possible to save the things we love. Wild salmon will continue to show us how, if we let them.
So first of all, the film looks amazing, right? I just wanted to salute you on that with your content creation, your filmography. It looks compelling. I'm just fascinated. What inspired you to get into this particular area of filmmaking and to cover this specific topic?
I just stumbled into this, honestly, Ben. I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle, and this is salmon country. I grew up fishing with my dad. Caught my first king salmon when I was 2 years old. I spent my college summers working in Bristol Bay in the fish packing industry. And then I spent my 20s as a wilderness guide in Southeast Alaska chasing them down. So when I came to understand that I wanted to tell stories through film, and this idea floated in my head about telling stories about wild salmon and what they mean to us as a species and as a bellwether, as a keystone species, and showing us what our health and our relationship to the planet is, it just all naturally fell into place.
What type of salmon was that you said you caught at 2 years old?
It's a king salmon, which are the biggest of the 5 Pacific salmon species, and it was probably about a 30-pound fish. And
oh wow!
My dad actually reeled it in next to the boat, and I chucked my brand new Snoopy pole at it, and pole went down, but I was hooked forever.
Oh man, so you clearly didn't stumble onto this. I know you're probably saying that tongue in cheek, but you were born into this. Like this is your lineage at this point.
Yeah, the salmon have my back. I mean, I've been eating them and chasing them and in love with these creatures. And in no small part, and definitely motivated by the fact that when I started to learn more about these fish as an adult and what they bring, they feed 137 different creatures when they come back to their home rivers to spawn, including us. They give their lives so that life itself can continue. In dying, they create new life. And, I think being reminded of that, especially right now in the moments that we're passing through in this country, the idea of sacrifice and the idea of living for something greater than ourselves is a very comforting feeling.
Let's talk about the politics of it. Like I'm not sure of all the politics around this, but I was looking. We saw that your industry had a victory today in terms of some of the decisions being made by the Trump administration. Tell me a little bit about the politics that undergird this your field.
Sure. So as with lots of issues involving varying forces that want to use resources in different ways. Alaska is no different. There are two treasures in Bristol Bay. One is the salmon that we've been talking about. And they've been coming back for time immemorial to the people that have lived there for 10,000 years and continue to do so. The other is precious metals. And there are what are estimated as $500 billion worth of copper, gold, and molybdenum in the ground in the headwaters of the spawning rivers of Bristol Bay. Now, the forces that want to protect those or exploit those resources obviously have very different opinions. The people on the salmon side have formed a very unlikely coalition. When we talk about people vying for a particular resource, and in this case salmon, you've had tribes, you've had commercial fishermen and sport fishermen at each other's throats for decades about the allocation of that resource. In this case, they all came together in an unparalleled coalition to protect the wilderness here so that the salmon can keep coming back to it. And that really totally straddled political lines, political parties. And what ended up happening in a very interesting turn of events here is that what was perceived as a sort of left environmental cause by a lot of people really augmented into something that covered the broad spectrum of political beliefs and was at the end of the day here championed by conservative sportsmen and women, fishermen, and even had a shout out from Donald Trump Jr., which really got this thing pushed forward into the space that we're in now, which is the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers veto, or rather, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers denying a permit for this mine at this time.
Right. No, that's amazing. That's fascinating. So you, in a way, you all have a team of rivals in every sense of the phrase that is advocating on behalf. I find it interesting though, some of those same forces that drive conservatism in this country, Donald Trump Jr., and to be quite fair and honest, drives the Democratic Party. Some of those same forces like capitalism or exploitation or extracting resources, as they would like to call it. Those forces are always present and ever present in people like Donald Trump Jr., the Trump administration. Really quickly, what do you think was their motivation behind supporting your cause on this one, or the cause in general?
Right, there is a broad base of folks that are conservative, that appreciate wild places and wild things. And that is a point where we meet as a people, I think, as Americans, where we find common ground. And that is what pushed things forward. I mean, there was a CEO from Johnny Morris from Bass Pro Shops was on singing the exact same song as Jane Fonda was, quite literally about protecting this place. And you don't often find that kind of cross section.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that makes it fascinating even more. Let's talk about your film real quick, a little bit more before we go. We only have a few more minutes. Where can people see the film and access it or stream it?
Well, we are having our final live stream national event tonight, as a matter of fact.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at 4:00 Pacific time, and I think we can provide a link to you, and you guys could put it up for your viewers, and we also have another link for folks to take action. While we just received a victory by this permit being denied, Bristol Bay needs permanent protection, and there are action items in that link that we provided for you to do to advocate for permanent protection as well.
Amazing. Mark Titus, award-winning writer, filmmaker, and director. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on. And again, if folks want to come join the screening tonight, it's at avaswild.com. That's the word save spelled backwards. Thanks so much for having me, Ben.
The pleasure's ours.
Thanks for watching this free clip of the Young Turks. Don't forget to become a TYT member today. For more exclusive content, join now at tyt.com/join.